NFL annual league meetings in Arizona are underway. Dan Quinn, being the chatty patty that all coaches are at the league meetings, who his breakout players going to be, what he expects from Jaden in 2026. The team never explored a trade for Tyler Biotish, the center position, a camp battle between Mikey and Amik Robertson. A whole lot to talk about as we're 24 days away from the start of the 2026 NFL Draft. I am Rio Robinson. Let's get to it. What it do, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about our Washington Commanders. It is March 30th, the penultimate day of March, and we are Michael Davis days away from the start of the 2026 NFL Draft, and the chatter is nonstop at this point. Washington's fielding calls for the 7th pick of the draft. Matt Miller, friend of the show, ESPN draft analyst, dropped his mock draft, which got people upset on the timeline today. Dan Quinn is talking about any and all things Washington Commanders, and we're going to break it down. We're going to go layer by layer, and we're going to get into some of these conversations. So, we signed Ahkello Witherspoon, didn't post a video or stream about it. Shout out to everybody who did. We added some depth to the cornerback room. So before we get to before we get to the Mikey and Amik playing inside, outside, and battling at camp conversation, welcome to the squad, Ahkello Witherspoon. My quick thoughts on that before we keep it pushing. We got the De'Ami Brown / Van Jefferson of the cornerback room. He's someone that's played a lot of football. I've been following Ahkello Witherspoon's whole career. I remember the Colorado team he was on with Chidobe Awuzie and Tedrick Thompson and them. I remember that squad. I feel old. It didn't feel like Ahkello Witherspoon's been in the league for 10 years now, but here we are. I told my son the biggest sign of being old is now I'm watching players' sons play college football and play pro ball. That's how I know I'm getting up there. I'm going to be the big 35 in about 6 or so months from now. But Dan Quinn. No. Before we get into Dan Quinn, I see people who are, Washington's trading the pick because they're fielding calls. This is all draft protocol. This is all normal business practices. When you see stuff come out on 3 weeks up to the NFL draft, Washington is fielding calls. Everybody's fielding calls right now. Everybody pump the brakes, breathe, relax. I'm not saying we're sticking at 7 and picking. I'm not saying we're trading back, but those are not predetermined measures. You're not going into unless you're the Raiders picking one, you don't know fully 100% what you're doing as of 3 weeks going into the draft, because anything could happen in front of your pick. Maybe the Jets know what they're doing it too, because the draft starts at them. But there are a multitude of different outcomes Washington could be looking at with the 7th pick of the draft. So we can't sit here and overreact to the reporting that Washington is at the owners' meetings setting up trades and fielding calls. If Adam Peters wasn't doing that, I'd be concerned about his aptitude and ability to do his job, because that's what general managers do. We're going to later talk about the team not shopping Tyler Biotish. Dan Quinn's not the person to talk to about a player being shopped. Dan Quinn is told what the front office is doing. Dan Quinn don't got nothing to do with any of that. So I'm not overreacting to hearing that Washington's fielding offers. Washington has to have a board of players that they're ready to select at 7, and Washington has to have on speed dial a couple general managers that, hey, what's up, big head? We like where we're at right here. If you want to move up a few spots, we're going to slide into your pick. You can come. Who are you picking at 7? Who are you trading up for? We're setting the table. We're setting the table for April 23rd at the start of the draft and potentially later in the draft. But Washington doesn't pick again until pick 71. But this is not anything huge. When I hear that the team is fielding calls, I need them to field calls. I need them to have a board ready to go. We don't know what's going to be there at 7. We're at the time of the draft where no one's going to be there at 7. And we're also at the time of the draft where prospect fatigue kicks in, where red flags kick in. David Bailey is the latest victim of paralysis by overanalysis. The situation where he allegedly choked out a cameraman and back when he was at Stanford, stomped on an opponent's helmet during the game. These are things that happen. Folks knew that they happened, but for some reason, they've went through the entire draft process and it hasn't come up till right now as a big deal. You watch them in the bowl game. You watch them play all year in the leap that he took with the Texas Tech Red Raiders this year. Know what? The clips are out there. This is not new footage. This is not some release the tapes TMZ type situation. But David Bailey has a few screws loose. And to be totally honest, shit don't bother me none. Shit don't bother me. It's something to keep tabs on. Is he James Pierce? I'm not going to put him in that. James Pierce was the boogeyman of the 2025 draft. At least there are tangible videos pointing to said information with David Bailey. James Pierce was so despicable a human that folks would just tell you he had character concerns and say he's a bad person, and they wouldn't really put information out as to why he was a bad person. James Pierce was Lord Voldemort. They didn't want to say his name. That's a bad human. That's a bad guy. He's not on my board. Can't tell you why, but yeah, he's different. David Bailey, I'm not sure he's that. David Bailey, I'm not sure he's that. So before we get into Dan Quinn's comments, I ask you in the chat, y'all let me know what y'all think because I know what my answer is. If David Bailey being a screw loose candidate drops him to pick 7 in the 2026 NFL first round, would you take David Bailey? And then I want you to answer the next question. Do you think Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, the commander tag bandits who like Boy Scouts for the most part, do you think they would select David Bailey? I would sprint the car to the podium. And we just had an overkill. We added a surplus of edge rusher juice this offseason. Oway off one side, Dorrance, Bailey, and Chason, and Amenahue, and Drake Jackson, and Dietrich Watt. You went and added the biggest weakness of the team, and you made it one of the team's top 3 or 4 strengths. And I would be totally fine with it. Do I think Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and them would draft him? No. Because I think Dan Quinn is somewhere salivating over Ruben Bain Jr. He don't give a shit about short arms. He don't give a shit that he's this short, stout, fire hydrant built edge rusher. Why are we going to take the guy with screws loose when Ruben Bain out there plays football like the Rents do every snap of a football game? But I would draft David Bailey even with the concerns, and I don't think they would draft David Bailey. But to get into it, we can get right to it. Dan Quinn at the NFL Annual League meeting. I'm waiting for them to drop the picture. You know, the famous coach's picture. And every year I pull it up on screen and I like to fry that shit. I like to look at it. I like to fry shit. I want to see the new coaches in the picture. There is always 10 minutes worth of content that comes out when the NFL coaches meeting takes their picture. But before we get to that, there are rule changes. We're very close to replacement refs. Y'all remember the replacement refs? Y'all remember that shit? Y'all remember the Fail Mary, where it was a touchdown and an interception on the same play, and we didn't know which one it was? The NFL better not play no goddamn games, bro. Get these refs situated. I don't need Jaden Daniels and company losing a game because they got Costco registers officiating football games. I don't have time for it. Get that shit done with. But Dan Quinn was asked who his breakout candidate was. Dan Quinn has done a multitude of interviews, by the way. He's done a media scrum with local media. He's done something with someone from ESPN. He's done something with Josina Anderson. I've seen this question asked multiple times. I've seen Dan Quinn give multiple answers. Who is Dan Quinn's breakout commander of 2026? Johnny Newton, Jerzon Johnny Newton, a second-round pick in 2024. Someone that I needed. We all need it to be the case. Here's my issue. When asked that same question again, Lawrence Cager was his other answer. And DQ, my brother, love you, big dog. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. Don't nobody want to hear Lawrence Cager as someone. Listen, we just signed Chigakonkwo to a 3-year deal. John Bates, blocking extraordinaire. We know who Colson Yankoff is. I like you giving some love to Lauren Cager. The fact that DQ talking about Lawrence Cager and not Benjamin Sennett, that's an issue for me. Ed hit the group chat off the early. Yo, Sennett might be an early cut candidate when it comes time to training camp. And I think he has a great point. If we got it, Lawrence Cager is not a spring chicken. I think Lawrence Cager is 30 years old. Lawrence Cager in our tight end room is this year's Semo, that's Chris Moore, or Antonio Hamilton Sr. Why are we looking from breakouts from 30-year-old players that never panned out in the league? But let's go back to Johnny Newton, because I'm not giving Lawrence Cager that much time because I don't believe you, Dan Quinn. Let's go back to Jerzon Johnny Newton. 5-sack season. Put that in bunny ears because 3 of them came on Christmas Day. But Jerzon Johnny Newton was a player. We were so comfortable with him. We traded back with the Philadelphia Eagles in that second round. He was the first of 3 second-round picks in 2024. 3 of them. Jerzon, Mikey, and Ben Sennett. The Eagles took all-pro corner Cooper DeJean to add to Quinyon Mitchell. What a haul, by the way. And Washington has Jerzon, Johnny Newton, Mikey Sainristil, and Ben Sennett. We're in year 3. So we're officially at the it happens now or the shit is never happening phase of these boys' career. And at that pivotal stage of their career, I am all for the propaganda of Johnny Newton breakout season. I want to hear it. I want them to be consistent with it. I hope it's a topic of conversation that flows all the way into training camp. I've heard in the last few days, Mikey breaking out in 2026 and Jerzon breaking out. Benjamin Sennett needs to be called to the table for a conversation because that's a bad pick. He could turn out to be one of the best fullbacks in the league. He could end up being somewhere between Patrick Ricard and Kyle Juszczyk. But as we sit here on March 30th, 2026, Benjamin Sennett was a big mistake in a draft bust. I don't like to use the bust past the second round. First and second round picks, a lot of people see the talent in those rounds not far from the same. So when I use the word bust, I like to only talk about the first and the second round. Maybe you could talk third, but I'll say first and the second round. You took a tight end in the second round that got like a few more catches than Rio Robinson in his 2-year career. And all you've shown me this offseason is that you have 0 plans to include this guy in the fucking offense going forward, which tells me there was a reason why Cliff Kingsbury had no interest in playing him. I know there was a alleged rift between Cliff Kingsbury and Adam Peters based on playing younger players and shit like that, but it can't be Ben Sennett that caused the rift between them because there's no way. At this point of Ben Sennett's career, put him in a 40s number, put his hand in the dirt, put him in I formation in front of Bill, in front of Rashad White, dare I say, in front of Jeremiah Love, but that's a fullback. H-back if you want to clean it up and put some makeup on it. But Ben Sinnott, not it. Ben Sinnott's not it. Let's go back to Johnny Newton. It's put up or shut up time. Y'all remember when we drafted him, injuries were what propelled him to plummet in the 2024 draft. Jerzon Newton was being spoken about as a top 25 prospect. I remember the mock drafts. I remember the big boards. I remember the way they spoke about Buddy in the 2024 draft. When Washington took him in the second round, steal of the draft. Washington just got the steal of the 2024 draft. They got a first round talent at 36 or 39 or wherever we pick. Was it 36? I think it was 36. And then we trade back to 39. I don't know. It was one of those numbers. It was one of those late 30s numbers. I want to say it was 36 or 39. But we were sold a bill of good. Y'all remember hey, shout out to Lake Lewis, brother. Friend of the show, friend in real life. Y'all remember Lake Lewis was out here like from a pass rush standpoint. Hey, we could be getting, a guy that could be on some Aaron Donald type shit. I told him when he said it, you're wildin', Lake. But he said that shit. And I seen it. I remember it. And we're on the defensive line now where Javon Kinlaw, Daron Payne, and now Tim Settle is here on a 3-year, $24 million deal. And Newton, that's a 4-man defensive tackle rotation. And we don't know what we expect the 3-4 under front and all these Flores look. We don't know what Durante Jones' defense is looking like yet. I want to know how they utilize Johnny Newton. But Johnny Newton has to show some of that pass rush prowess we were promised in the 2024 draft. This is not a let's kick guys while they're down session. This is we took players in the second round and they need to fucking look like it this season session. So Mikey, Jerzon Newton, big years await you. Big years await you. And at your positions, the team has not shown, well, Mikey, not yet. We have not shown that we've given up on Mikey or that we're trying to upgrade from him yet. But I imagine we're taking a corner with one of our first couple picks in this draft. It'll be interesting to see how they handle interior defensive line in the draft. Are they going to take one? Are they comfortable with Javon, Kinlaw, Settle, and Payne? Because Payne is probably going to walk next offseason. Very interesting. Johnny Newton's a name I'm going to circle and be paying attention to all offseason. Dan Quinn says, breakout incoming for Johnny Newton in the 2026 season. We all saw the Christmas game versus the Cowboys. 3 sacks. It's unfair to ask him to do that on a regular basis because a defensive tackle's role is not to do that on a regular basis. A lot of their role has to do with swallowing up blocks and taking and facing double teams and just space eating and shit. But Johnny Newton was drafted to be pressure from the interior part of the defense. I need him to be that. It's not a sack number. It's an impact thing. It's an eye test thing. I'd like to see 95 pop more when the season comes, which moves me to the interior trenches on the opposite side of the ball. Let's talk center. I keep telling y'all, after Tyler Lindenbaum, this team has dug its heels in and they're rolling out 3-time champion, recently extended Sir Nicholas of House Allegretti. Is this your champion? 3 times. Nick Allegretti is your starting center right now. Nick Allegretti is your starting center, and Dan Quinn says the plan as of now is a competition between Nicholas Allegretti and Julian Good-Jones. If there's something a coach knows how to do, it is bring about propaganda about players that you have no idea who they are or you don't want them playing on Sunday. First one was Lawrence Cager. I'm not falling for that, DQ. And I'm also not falling for this Julian Good-Jones shit. They will draft a center at some point. I'm not sure if it's in the third round. I'm not sure if it's in the fifth. I'm not sure if it's later on day 3. But they're going to draft the center at some point. They're not leaving the center position to Nick Allegretti and Julian Good-Jones. It's not happening. It's not happening. But Nick Allegretti is your starting center. And Julian Good-Jones is the death as of right now, which tells me y'all are drafting a center, which then led the questioning of Tyler Biadasz. Did the team attempt to facilitate a trade for our former center that nobody saw a release coming for? And Dan Quinn's answer was, like, he pretty much said, we got the feeling that no team was willing to come up off a draft pick, which led people to believe, oh my God, Dan Quinn just said the team never explored a trade for Tyler Biadasz. And Adam Peters is better at his job for that. Adam Peters is making people sign for minimum wage over here. Adam Peters writing WNBA contract to boy, and you think he finna just cut a starting quality center and not at least ask for? He did the same thing. He will know he had to have done the same thing they did with Brian Robinson Jr., which was float his name out, see what the motion was league-wide. Oh, we're not going to get a pick for him. Yeah, we're going to cut him. Teams know when you're going to cut somebody. When someone get the call out the blue, yo, what y'all think of our center, Tyler Biadasz? They probably looking at each other like, oh, he trying to fleece. He trying to finesse. They going to cut that boy. He trying to get a pick for him. While he signed immediately, he had the advantage of doing so. He didn't have to wait for the tampering period or the start of free agency. I'm not tripping over the Tyler Biadasz thing. Adam Peters does he's too shrewd a negotiator for me to believe that he didn't try to get something for him. He's too like, that boy be saving in places that the team don't need to save. He's too thorough to not have tried to get a pick for Tyler Biadasz. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about centers because I'm pretty sure there are a lot more qualified people to do so. But center is a position that matters. I think I'm comfortable with Nick Allegretti starting this year. I don't know if there's a future in it, but there needs to be some depth added to the room. I imagine Nick Allegretti's backup for center is in the NFL draft or someone that they add at some point soon. The center market has been ass other than Tyler Lindenbaum, which we were in on until it got ridiculous. $27 million for a center a year. Crazy talk. But shout out to Nick Allegretti for getting the nod. We're going to see if they keep their word based on what we do in the draft. So next thing, the team will likely line up Mikey Sainristil and Aiyuk Robertson on the outside and the inside during OTAs. Should surprise nobody at all. So Ahkello Witherspoon is now your depth piece. Your new Jonathan Jones / Noah Igbenogany is Ahkello Witherspoon. Your starting corners right now are Mikey, Aiyuk, and Amos. Amos is slotted to be on the boundary on one side, and Aiyuk is a guy who has inside-outside versatility. He's a guy that could start. He's going to start. I think they paid that boy $7-8 million to start, unless they go corner at first, unless they love a corner that they take in the 71. We could go Mansour Delane in the first round. We could trade back, and it's another corner as well. Avion Terrell's hamstring flared up. He may fall out of the first round altogether. Maybe he's a guy that drops far enough. 71's a far drop, though. I don't know if he gets all the way that far. But I'm interested to see. I'm going to be paying attention to all of those off-season workout and mandatory minicamp reps. I think the plan is Mikey back on the outside as an off-coverage demon in Durante's system and Aiyuk on the inside. I trust Amik Robertson on the inside more than I trust Mikey Sanders still on the inside. Mikey just does not have it for the inside. He's not shifty enough. He doesn't move his feet and his hips together in symmetry on the inside enough for me. Technique's not good enough. Undersized, not fast enough. You have to be one of those insane, like Caleb Downs, like processors to actually make shit shake at the cornerback position. But I think we watched Byron Murphy and Rodgers as the corners in Minnesota. So I think Mikey could do fine in that type of role. But that's also going back to what I said earlier. We don't know that he's running a Flores-style defense. He's played under a bunch of different defensive masterminds before, and he's called his own defensive plays before. So we don't know what to expect. But Mansour Delane is very, very realistic for Washington at 7, especially considering what the board looked at. And I'll take a quick second to get to Matt Miller, friend of the show. I've had him on every year since I've done the channel. He'll be back on the channel on Thursday, by the way. Thursday evening, look for Matt Miller video. Matt Miller did a 7-round mock draft that dropped this morning, and it had Washington fans up in arms on the timeline. I got a couple DMs. Rio, did you see this mock draft? He took Mansour Delane at pick 7. I don't have a problem with that. Mansour Delane is worthy of the 7th pick of the draft. And, you know, I don't got no problems with it. We have a big need at corner. It's one of the top 3 needs on the team. He took Malachi Fields at 71. I'm not saying I speak fluent Malachi Fields, but there were better options to me on the table when he took this pick. But where it gets tricky is his next 2 picks. At 147, he took quarterback Taylon Green, and at 187, he took tight end Marlon Klein. That's where fans started to have really big issue. You know, if you take Malachi Fields over Ted Hurst, over Antonio Williams, over some of these guys you could get at 71, well, we don't know who's going to be there at 71. I get it. But Washington taking a quarterback, Taylon Green is an athletic demon. He may have had the best quarterback combine we've ever seen. He has the profile of a guy I would love to one day be Jaden's backup here in DC. He's a guy that tempts me in a bad quarterback class that's going to be overdrafted at some point. But at 147, in a draft where Washington has to be efficient with their draft picks, I would love to know the rationale behind it. Are we using him like my favorite football player, Taysom Hill? Is he going to be here on a Taysom Hill situation where we have packages designed for him to run routes, to throw passes, to be in the backfield? Because I can subscribe to that. That's a weapon, and Taylon Green is so much more athletic than Taysom Hill. So if you're getting someone who you could put on the field at the same time as Jaden that you can utilize as a weapon, because 6'5" quarterback running 4.3 is not some normal shit you see. I think somebody's going to overdraft him and give him a chance to quarterback their football team at some point down the line. But at 147, Washington needs a starter at 7, a starter at 71, and a player that can contribute in 2026 at 147. Is he the Marcus Mariota successor as the potential backup, or is he a package player demon, Taysom Hill on steroids type player for the team? And 147 seems rich, but if that's a weapon they feel like they can utilize immediately, I could get it, but that's definitely where it starts to get murky for Matt Miller here. Marlon Klein. I have no idea who that is. If you speak Marlon Klein in the chat, tell me all about him. I know about a bunch of tight ends in this class. Marlon Klein is not one of them that I am familiar with. Is this a well-rounded guy? Is this a dynamic receiver type? Is it a balance of both? Let me know what it is in the chat. Let me know what it is, man. Let me know what, because I have no idea, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. Maryland Terrapin, Jalen Husky at 210, and running back C.J. Donaldson at 223. I'm not going to argue with nobody at what they do in the 7th or 6th round of a mock draft. 147 is interesting, but how would y'all grade it? Give me a letter grade for give me a letter grade for Matt Miller's mock draft. Mansour Delane, Malachi Fields, Taylon Green, Marlon Klein, Jalen Husky, C.J. Donaldson. I don't think it's a horrible mock draft. Is it my favorite I've seen this offseason? No, but what Matt Miller's doing is he's presenting to you one of the 1,000 different ways the draft could fall for Washington, because there are big gaps between our first 3 picks. We go from 7 to 71 and from 71 to 147. So there's 60 to 70 picks between our first to third and our third to 5th round pick. So that's very hard to mock draft for. We are one of the hardest teams to mock drafts for this year because there's such gaps between our picks. So I'm not going to rag on nobody's mock draft. And I'm totally fine with Mansour Delane at pick 7. I'm more fine with Mansour Delane than I am with Ruben Bain Jr. at pick 7. But I'm going to have Matt on the channel later this week. I'm going to have him on Thursday evening, so be on the lookout for that, probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock p.m. on Lil Rio's birthday. And we're going to be talking about draft. We're going to be talking Jeremiah Love. We're going to be talking best player available. And we're going to be talking this specific mock draft. So keep it light on Matt Miller. You know, we like Matt Miller on this side. But so no decisions been made yet on who will wear the green dot for the defense. I'm not going to hold you. The green dot is an overemphasized talking point from fans when it comes to the leader of the defense. He says it will be someone involved in most packages. So a linebacker or a safety. And my first thought when it comes to green dot football player that's not a linebacker is a player like Caleb Downs. Remember, I said this shit on stream last week. Caleb Downs is a do everything, jack of all trades safety prospect. He's not going to blow you away with his size. On a football field, he's a demon. He's a Tasmanian devil. He looks more than fast enough to play at the next level. Wasn't going to run a 4.3 though. He wasn't going to run Dylan Thieneman time, but you're talking about a dude that started at 18 for Nick Saban. Nick Saban don't even like playing freshmen. True freshman? Fuck no. You're not starting on my defense. He doesn't like doing it. Caleb Downs not only started, he was one of the best players, if not the best player on that defense. Like that. Been that since 18. The boy looks like he came out the womb ready to play safety. Ready to cover sideline to sideline. Deep safety. Box safety. Blitzer. Processor. Bobby Wagner's brain in a safety's body. I would love it. I would love it, man. That's what made me think of that when I heard of who wears the green dot for this team going forward. But if it's a player that's already on the roster, Leo Chenal, I'm fine with him wearing it. I'm fine with him wearing it. But they're keeping the door open for potentially Bobby Wagner. They're keeping the door open. That's right, Kenny. His tape speaks for himself. Caleb Downs is him. I'm going to keep saying Caleb Downs is the pick at 7 until I get a reason to prove otherwise. But y'all think we bringing Bobby back? I think this is we love Bobby talk, and we would never close the door on Bobby talk, but this does not take me as we're willing to pay him whatever he wants to come back on this team, because the team went younger. They went faster. You know, I want Jaden. You said, my boy said, I want Jacob Rodriguez in the 4th. Jacob Rodriguez could sneak at the end of the 1st round or go on the 2nd round. He's not going to be there in the 4th round. Besides, we don't have a 4th round pick anyway. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the draft. Nothing I've heard from anybody on this team this offseason has discouraged me. We've had a really good offseason. There's still some holes to pick from. DQ says he wants the defense to create takeaways and the offense to hold on to the ball. So remember in 2024, so he wants an opportunistic defense and he wants an offense that wins in time of possession. Remember how long we was holding on to the football back in 2024? It always makes me think of that first drive of the NFC Championship when hopes were still high and we were 60 minutes away from the Super Bowl, and we came out the plastic with a 7-minute drive in Philadelphia, and then Saquon touched the field and all hope was lost after that. But we were doing that consistently. I remember a couple games in a row, we dominated time of possession. We were scoring in efficient. Every time we touched the ball, we were scoring. If we weren't scoring, we were at least maintaining drives, taking time off the clock. We got to get back to that in 2026. We got to get back to that in 2026. Expects Jaden to be bigger and stronger, says Dan Quinn. Listen, fan base, this is not a topic you need to spend too long arguing about. Jaden Daniels can put on as much muscle as he wants to. That frame and bone structure ain't going nowhere. The boy finna have a snatched waist like an Instagram model his whole career. He's slight in the torso. He could put on, surprise to a lot of people, Jaden put on muscle last year. He put on muscle, but by the time we got to camp and the boy started sweating, he's going to look how he looks. He's always going to look that way. For everybody wanting him to roid up and look like LaRon Landry, Jaden is never going to be built like Josh Allen, like Drake May, like Patrick Mahomes. That's not going to be the case. Our boy's built like Gumby, so we need his body to continue to be made of rubber and avoid serious injury. But he's not going to get that much bigger, and that's okay. This is who Jaden Daniels is. We knew who he was when we drafted him. He's slender man. He has a basketball player's body. That's who he is. I'm not tripping about it. But he made a concerted effort to talk about Jaden being bigger and stronger. He can do both of those things, and it may not necessarily show to the human eye because he's skinny. His bone structure is skinny. My son's bone structure is skinny. Mine is not, as you can see. But this is just how Jaden's built. I'm not worried about it, man. I'm not worried about it too much. I seen a Kyle Shanahan. I'm not going to waste too much of y'all time with the Aiyuk shit until we get another real update. I'm not going to pull from that algorithm, but I'll just mention that Kyle Shanahan said it could take a while, but they're looking for a resolution to the Aiyuk situation. So nothing to see there. No updates for real. The first thing that made Durante Jones stand out to Dan Quinn was his ability to teach. I'm pretty positive that Durante Jones and David Blau, for different reasons, knocked these guys' socks off in these coordinator interviews. I think they went into the offseason believing that, get that, Bear. I believe they went into the offseason believing that they wanted experienced play callers on each side, but appreciate you, man. But I think they went into the offseason believing that it was going to be experienced play callers on each side of the ball. But I think what it turned into was Durante Jones guy, he sees it. And I think the way that he speaks about it is a way that he not only sees it, but he can teach it and he can rub it off on his players. So I think their mindset changed. I think Dan Quinn went on a limb to take the risk of, in a big pivotal year 3 season, he brought in 2 first-time NFL play callers on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And I think that I commend him for taking such risk, but I think these guys lit it up in the interview room. Yep, I think he absolutely knocked their socks off. And when I watched those videos of him talking about it, it reminded me of those Carl Scott videos, the 50-minute long video when he was with Alabama. I think we got one of those guys on the defensive side, and they spent most of the money this free agency on upgrading that side of the ball. I think Durante Jones has more than enough to work with to see big improvements in 2020 6. But don't put the expectations too high. Opportunistic defense. So pass rush juice that gets to the quarterback and makes life uncomfortable for passers, and turnovers, and an offense that holds the ball. It gets me back to thinking Jeremiah Love once again. I'm not going to I'm not trying to set up fans for disappointment on draft day, because there's going to be a lot of Washington fans that drop to their knees in disdain when Love comes off the board before 7. But the NFL draft world is trying to scream that Jeremiah Love's going to be there at 7, and if he's there, that Washington's picking him. Me and Bear have been doing a franchise together. My kids are on spring break right now from school, so I'm pretty sure he'll show his face on streams at some point this week. We've been doing a franchise with the 2026 draft class, and Love fell to us, and we took Jeremiah Love, and that boy's about to win an MVP in our season as a rookie. He's different. But back to real life for a second. Adam Schefter has now tripled down that he thinks Love is going to make it past the Giants and make it past the Tennessee Titans. And Bucky Brooks is like the only person in the draft world saying, I just don't see him getting to Washington at 7. But if they do, they'll take him there. It became an entire talking point. I see Mina Kimes talk about it. Everybody's talking about Jeremiah Love in Washington. I don't know if it's the infatuation with pairing Jaden up with a guy with his ability and becoming one of the more dynamic backfields we've ever seen. But the Jeremiah Love thing completely is against what I typically stand for as a drafter. I don't believe in taking running backs that high, but when there's a guy that good, you got to have the conversation. But don't get your hopes up, y'all. I think Love's the best player in this draft. I think Caleb Downs is the next player in this draft. I think Caleb Downs will be there when we pick at number 7. I'm still, as of the penultimate day of March, I'm not yet convinced that Jeremiah Love is going to be on the board when the Commanders pick at 7. But for everybody ready to throw your hearts up and come up with 1,000 corny Jeremiah Love puns, hey, I'm standing with y'all in solidarity, but I'm telling y'all, caution, because I don't think Love is going to be there with the 7th pick. But he's definitely my favorite. Quick little point, nothing too much. But the uniforms are releasing on April 15th, and I've been confidently declaring that it's going to be the old uniforms with a gloss helmet. I don't know what they're doing with the alternate, but we heard black redesign. And I'm under the impression that there's going to be nothing new, nothing fresh. But, I was on the Get Loud podcast on the Washington Commanders channel that y'all are going to be seeing real soon. And Smoot made some comments about maybe potentially there being a surprise for fans. People have sent me an email the team has sent to season ticket holders about these new uniforms, and they emphasize new in all caps a few times. And a couple conversations with some people that I know have seen the uniforms already, and they're like, Rio, I'm not going to tell you much. I'm not going to tell you anything to go off of, but you're wrong about the uniforms. They didn't tell me what I'm wrong about, but I think we could be in the midst for something fresh, maybe a redesign, maybe a combination of the old uniforms and some new uniform. Now I'm going into it with my head spinning. Are we getting a new helmet design? The W is clearly still the logo. It's still on the draft hat. The W not going nowhere. Are they throwing a spear on a helmet? Are they combined? I want to know what's different, because they're throwing the words surprise, new around. It makes me think, maybe it's something nobody's expecting. We're going to see, though. We're going to see. I'm very interested. April 13th is coming up real soon. Well, we got 16 days. I cannot wait to see what's coming when those uniforms get revealed. But Dan Quinn also mentioned that he wants to get Leo Chenal moving forward in different packages, indicated he will be on the field for a majority of snaps. And that rings off to me as Andrew Van Ginkel and the Viking system. Van Ginkel is that player that can fool the defense because he's coming off the edge. He's lined up in the middle. He's blitzing from multiple gaps. I'm here for everything Leo Chenal. That boy got 15 siblings. He grew up with 15 brothers and sisters. So, you know what I'm saying? Like this dude loves ball. He's fast. He's athletic. He's fun. Listen to his interview with Brian Colbert Jr. on the Commanders channel. It should tell you a whole lot about this person. I'm excited to see him play. He's still the person I'm most excited about seeing on the field in 2026 going forward from the free agent class. I think Odafe Owe is the most productive. I'm still the most excited about Leo Chenal. Let's play with the mock draft. It is mock draft Monday still. It is still Monday on the channel. So let's get into our first mock draft of the stream. Let's see what scenarios present themselves for the team at pick 7. Let's get to it. As you can see, I already loaded up the mock draft machine. So let's get active. And with the 7th pick, let's see what our trade options are. So someone's calling our phone, and it is that swindler, the ultimate finesser, Howie Roseman in Philadelphia says, yo, AP, I got a second for you next year. 23, 54, and 68. So we got a second for you, and we got an early 3rd round pick for you, and a second next year because Bain's on the board, Styles is on the board, Mansour Delane's on the board. Who are they coming up to come get? Because Philadelphia smells blood in the water, and they think we're a sucker here because they already got a 1 All-Pro off of us. Man, I don't know if I want to do business with Philadelphia anymore and add a demon to the division champion, but let me see what other trade offers out there. It's definitely enticing. That's a very interesting draft offer. It's very enticing, but we'll see what else is there. We're going to see what else is out there. F the Eagles, though. I don't want us doing business with the Eagles. I do not. Mario, can you lock the door? You locked the door. Is he done?
I think so.
Okay, I think he's done. Did he leave the door open? Okay, just lock it. And if he comes back, just go get it again. Oh, let's see what else they offer us. The Eagles offered us a beautiful deal. The Saints just want us to go back 1 and get a second next year. I think I'm willing to do that to pick up a second next year in the best. So we got 2 of the obvious ops that this team currently has. The Bears, 25, 57, 60, and a second next year. That's also something I'd consider. That's far. That's back 18 spots. I think I would rather give the Bears the pick than the Eagles. If I'm going to take one of the deals, it's this one. Fuck Howie Roseman and the Eagles. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that shit. They about to go get Caleb Downs or somebody, Styles or Demon. So we can move back 1 pick and select one of these players at 8. We can stay at 7 and pick a player, or we can move back to 25 and get a second and a 3rd round pick and a second next year. And that is when you get in the territory for holes like that. Moving back 18 spots is when you're talking about 2nd round plus. You're not getting that to move back a spot or 2. We're not trading with Philly, bro. We're not trading with Philly. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So do y'all want Styles, Bain, Delane at 8? And we pick up a second next year? Do you want to just take 1 at 7 and not add any more picks this or next year? Or do y'all want to move back to 25 and add a 2nd and 3rd round pick as well? What y'all trying to do? Talk to me. Talk to me, Commanders Caucus, War Room. What y'all trying to do? I think we just move back 1 and take whatever player the Saints don't take, bro. So we love Delane. We love Styles. One of them's going to be there a pick later. We're going to take it, and we're going to get a second next year. And now we're back on the board again. And they took Jermod McCoy. So McCoy must light it up at his pro day on the 31st tomorrow. They took Jermod McCoy. Best tape in the class was his 2024 tape. Didn't play all of 2025 because he tore his knee up. So now Sonny Styles, Mansour Delane are on the board, and we're still getting trade calls. The Jets want 16 and 33 for us to give them 8 and 47. And that's our only offer. Delane, Styles, or do y'all want this trade? Who are the Jets coming up for? They about to take a quarterback. They about to double up and take what they about to do. What the Jets about to do? What they up to? Delane at 8? Delane at 8? Styles at 8? I'm there for either one of them. I think Sonny Styles, you got to take him. I think we got to take Sonny Styles here, man. Love you, Mansour Delane. Shout out Silver Spring. But I think Sonny Styles, I'm going to take Sonny Styles here. In mock draft number 1, 24 days before the draft, we traded back one spot and took Sonny Styles. We added a second in the 2027 draft. And now at 71, I'm not interested in this Broncos trade or this one. Okay, so we went linebacker. We went linebacker round 1. So I would love an offensive weapon here. And by offensive weapon, I mean wide receiver. Let's check wide receivers. My Stafford boy, Stafford, Virginia. Skylar Bell is my favorite pick here. Skylar Bell is going to be a very productive player in the NFL. I know he played for UConn, but that's a dude who's seen a lot of time on the outside and the inside. He's got a route tree on him. He's got yards after catch ability. I've seen him produce 100 catch seasons in college. I can be sold on Chris Brazzell as well. Antonio Williams out of Clemson. Cyrus Allen's one of the best route runners in the class. I'm not trying to force pick a receiver here, but I'm kind of trying to force pick a receiver here. I'm not going to hold you. Cornerbacks available, Dalen Everett, someone that the team likes. Traden Stukes, who may project as a safety in the NFL. Julian Neal's still there. I'm hoping he's there at 147. But wide receiver would be my preference here for this team. Obviously, center, Slaughter's there. Coogan, Yeager Burton. I'm cool on center in the 3rd round, personally. I'm cool on him. Chris Brazzell is 6'5" and runs 4'3", but Tennessee receivers always scare me because they run a rinky-dink-ass college offense, and that shit terrifies me. You know, Ted Hurst. I think Ted Hurst is still available too. Ted Hurst is like lower conference George Pickens. Like if you got George Pickens off the clearance rack, Ted Hurst. He's got some drop issues in college. No, Ted Hurst is off the board, actually. Who Ted Hurst went to? Ted Hurst went to the... Did he go 2nd round? Hold up now. Where is Ted Hurst? Am I tripping? I don't see Hurst nowhere. Ted Hurst. So that means he got to be available. Where they got him on this board? Oh, they got Ted Hurst at 169 on the PFF board, but Ted Hurst is still there. So we don't have to. Do y'all feel comfortable going corner or center here? Are y'all comfortable bypassing receiver here and just taking possibly the best player on the board? So let's look at all. So Kyle Louise is on the board, but we took Sonny Styles in the 1st round. So with that in mind, Jonathan Joseph, the edge rusher, Elijah Surratt. I'm taking Elijah Surratt, Brazzell, or one of those guys here. What would y'all do here at this spot? Surprise, Surratt's going this late. Hey, the league overthinks things, and you never know. Oh, man, I want me a receiver, bro. Man. Hurst is nice. That board got him pretty low, but he played for Georgia State. There's a world where Ted Hurst is there at 147 because he played for Georgia State and he has drop concerns. He has focus drop concerns. So playing for Georgia State, he has a good height, weight, speed profile. 6'3", 6'4" guy with good speed. Not the biggest route tree, but he's not a bad route runner. But I'm not driving no goddamn center. Hey, you know me very well. I'm not driving no fucking center here. But it's a conversation to be had. We going wide receiver. So which wide receiver? You know what? I'm going to put my wide receiver college biases aside and say Tennessee doesn't scare me like TCU scares me. Chris Pratt, but Skylar Bell's the guy, though. Skylar Bell's my guy. I don't know if I could. You know what? I think my boy Jalen, Bleeding B&G, make sure y'all check his mock draft stream out later. I think he posted a tweet earlier and was like, I can see Jaden turning Chris Brazzell into his Brian Thomas Jr. So let me trust my brother's expertise. Y'all beg for size in the room. I'm listening to y'all. You got a size speed guy, a demon. Diami on steroids. I think Chris Brazzell has better route potential than Diami Brown, though. I think he can run more than the go and the slant. But 6'5", 4'3", come on down. This is what we've done so far. Sonny Styles and Chris Brazzell. Sonny Styles and Chris Brazzell. I love this safety from Texas, Michael Tav. I love the story, even though I'm not drafting for stories. Michael Tav was a walk-on and went on, and he's about to get drafted in early day 3. Jalen Kilgore, Julian Neal. I need a corner bad. Love the size profile. Arkansas SEC guy. Styles, Brazzell, Julian Neal. And now y'all can start talking to me about centers. This is when I love to take a center. Iowa runs its own scheme. Iowa players don't typically bust in the league. They're typically at least a solid NFL player. I don't need to go no further. It's the center position. It's the center position. I'm not about to sit here. This is not a Brian Baldinger breakdown. And at this point, we could just go best player available. What safeties are still out there? If Lewis Moore from Indiana, he's undersized like Caleb Downs, but that's a real-ass, rangy middle fielder. That's a free safety. Come on down. Come on down. Last pick of the mock draft. Hey, is Taylor Green there? He is. That's when I'll take my Taysom Hill demon or my potential Sam Hartman or Marcus Mariota down the line replacement. But we added a pick in 2027 to take a player that we would have taken in a heartbeat at 7. So we got 2 second-rounders next year in the class that they write folklore about. The class is Sonny Styles, Chris Brazzell II, Julian Neal, Logan Jones, Lewis Moore, and Taylor Green. Mario, go ahead and get that. Okay. My bad. But that's what we turned into. So let's do one more and see how different the board looks this go around. Thank you, sir. We're going to do one more, and I'll slide out of here unless we get some more information that we need to stew over. I'll put it on the regular PFSN board on this one, and let's see what happens. We're back on the board at 7. We got an offer from the Chiefs. The picks before Washington were Fernando Mendoza at 1, which we already know that's going to happen. Carnell Tate at 2 is crazy. This is when the Jets just did some Jets things. Like, I like Carnell Tate. I'm not crazy about Carnell Tate like some of you are, but I'm not mad at you because wide receivers, university is Ohio State. Nobody has a better database to pull from of wide receivers performing at the next level than Ohio State. I just think Carnell Tate is not as good as some of those guys coming. I think he has the profile and the potential to be. I don't think he's there yet. Like, someone put a graphic up there yesterday of they power ranked the 8 Ohio State receivers that got busy in the league, and they threw Tate in there too. They had Jeremiah Smith at 1, Marvin Harrison at 2, Garrett Wilson at 3, Carnell Tate is 4, Olave and Jigba, Ibuka, Michael Thomas. Of those 8 guys, as prospects, not what they did in the league, coming out into the draft, I would put Tate 7 on the list. Only Michael Thomas I would put behind Carnell Tate as a prospect. Give me Smith, Harrison, Wilson, Olave and Jigba and Abuka, because I've seen all those dudes really, really get busy. And I know he shares the room with Jeremiah Smith. All these guys have shared the room with somebody before. I saw more out of them in college. And that doesn't mean I hate Carnell Tate. I'm not going to stand against the fire and throw a fit like I did when we drafted Forbes. If we take Carnell Tate, he just doesn't look like a top 10 in the NFL draft wide receiver. But I guess you have to look at the draft classes too, because that matters. In this year's draft class, which is the draft of outliers, Carnell Tate could be a top 10 pick, and he probably will be a top 10 pick. He could be our pick. He could go to any of the teams picking before us, not named the Raiders. But for my cup of tea, I don't see top 10. Honestly, for the top 3 receivers in this class, there's a case to be made that none of them should go top 10 because Tyson's injury history, Mekhi Lemon's profile and playing slot, and I love Mekhi Lemon, love Jordan Tyson. There's an argument to be made that none of the top 3 receivers should be going top 10 in the class, but we have a big need at the wide receiver position, and we don't see a resolution coming in San Francisco for that Aiyuk shit anytime soon. So I see it. Sed's on mid. Appreciate you for joining the channel as one of the Rambler family. Thanks for joining up. We got 500 in the chat right now. If y'all could do me one solid, smash that thumbs up, that like on this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscription button. Second and last day of the month. It was a beautiful March. Let's keep this energy going into April as we count down days of the draft. Let's do mock draft number 2. So, and mock draft number 2, Washington's on the board. Ruben Bain's on the board. Caleb Downs is on the board. And we have a trade offer from the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are coming up here for somebody, and we think maybe Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs, one of them can be there at 9. So I'm willing to play the game of chicken with the Chiefs to move back 2 spots and get a player that I love, which is Downs or Bain. Say what you want about Bain. I'm pretty sure this team loves them some Ruben Bain. That Jet shit definitely entices me as well. But what y'all think? The Jets deal or the Chiefs deal? We only moved back 1 spot last one. Do y'all want to move back further? Do y'all want to move back further and take a hooper? Oh, I only put it for a 1-round draft. Oops. So it don't even really matter. So for this one, let's just take this one. And here, Caleb Downs is my pick here. And I only put it for 1 round. Thank you for letting me know that in the chat, because my dumb ass definitely thought we was ready to go. So we're going to do one more before we get out of here. One more 7-rounder. Let's put it on consensus and see what that does. Because Carnell Tate at 2 was kind of crazy. Carnell Tate at 2, we jumping up and down at the draft party. Like, I don't know what's going to happen at 7, but it's going to be something. It's going to be something. I think for this one, there you go. Look who's on the board at 7 for Washington this time. Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, and David Bailey. So another situation that sounds like an unrealistic place to be, but there's a world where Washington is sitting on that. David Bailey choked out a cameraman and stepped on a dude when he was at Stanford. Is Dan Quinn and Adam Peters going to give him the commander tag and take him? Are they just going to take the talent? So when is it a good time to bring back Debo? I think I would rather have Juwan Jennings than Debo Samuel at this point, because Juwan Jennings gives me more as a wide receiver. But we're getting, I'm not bringing Debo in unless we get to the draft and don't take no receivers and we don't think Aiyuk is happening at all. I'm cool on Debo. I know our fans want to see Debo back. I know he's working out this offseason with Frankie Louvu, but I'm cool on Debo. If we get to the draft and no wide receiver is taken, that's when y'all can start having conversations with me about Debo. And if you're Debo Samuel, you might want to wait till after the draft happens. But also, I want to present to y'all that there is a world where Jeremiah Love's on the board and this team doesn't take him. Do not march on Washington or Ashburn when they do so. But we're not going to do that here. We're going to take Jeremiah Love with the 7th pick of the draft. We're going to take Jeremiah Love, and Jeremiah Love checks so many boxes. He fills multiple needs for us, and we're going to go from there. So I chose the consensus board, and this is what the board looks like. Antonio Williams from Clemson, anybody? Antonio Williams from Clemson, anybody? South Carolina boy. I like it. Ted Hurst. So they got Ted Hurst higher here. Y'all want Ted Hurst, and y'all want to come out the gate running back wide receiver. Bud Clark, the free safety from TCU. I like it. Thoughts. Corner. Y'all want the corner here? I think we could go corner here. I think we could definitely go corner here. Free safety. Bud Clark calling my name, though. Bud Clark, that's our starting free safety, man. Our starting free safety calling my name right here, man. The safety from Arizona, Genesis Smith's on the board, too. Zakee Wheatley. Hey, bro, I got free safeties on the board. I might get Malik Muhammad's on the board at corner. I might can wait around at corner, bro. Antonio Williams is like getting Love and Makai Lemon. Hey, y'all got enough confidence in Mikey Sanders still that we just go all in on the offense with our first 2 picks? I wouldn't be mad with it. We've given the defense all the love and attention so far this offseason. Hey, they may say explosive offense. We're back. Antonio Williams, best player on the board. Offense, baby. Offense, baby. Jeremiah Love and Antonio Williams to start the draft. And since we're going all in on the offense, we're not taking the center with the next pick. I'm just kidding. But now let's see what's here in the secondary. Now I would love to have me a corner. Devin Marshall out of NC State. The Oregon kid, Damani Jackson. Ephesians Prysock is a height, weight, speed, measurable, high relative athletic guy. But I think the best corner here is the Cal corner or the NC State corner. Hezekiah Massis, come on down. So we went running back, wide receiver. It's time to go in the trenches with our next one. Okay, so Marlon Klein, that tight end I brought up earlier, that's the Michigan tight end. Good to know. Indiana center, come on down. This is when I'm cool with us taking a center, you know? No Josh Laribis. What was old boy? Ricky Stromberg. No Ricky Stromberg, Josh Laribis shit happening over here, bro. End of day 3 centers for your boy. I'm cool with anything else. Caden Curry from Ohio State, come on down. Add us an edge to the back of the room. Jalen Husky, the Maryland Terrapin safety. I think Jalen Husky's a strong, right? Jalen Husky's a strong safety, right? Hey, turnover production, come on down. And you're a Terrapin. Let's get it. We bringing all the Terrapins back this year. Oh, I like the Texas Tech safety. I could have went with him, but fuck it. We take the home kid. So, close this one out. Jeremiah Love, Hezekiah Massis, Antonio Williams, Pat Coogan, Caden Curry, Jalen Husky. A lot of options. Washington's fielding calls for potential trade back, and we're going through all of the possibilities and everything Dan Quinn was talking about at the owners' meetings. If anything big or new that I need to jump back out there and talk about, we'll be back to talk about it. If not, I'll probably be seeing y'all some point tomorrow or Wednesday morning to afternoon. Matt Miller will be on the channel this week. I think Commanders Kings, we may be taking the week off because our brother Lou is going to be on vacation, and he don't need to be worrying about Washington Commanders. He needs to go vacate and enjoy his time in paradise. But Matt Miller dropped a mock. I just dropped a couple, and we discussed everything that DQ discussed. That's all I got for right now. Smash that thumbs up. It turns to a football when you do so. Hit the subscribe button on the channel as we push toward 25,000 subscribers. We're 24 days away from the NFL draft, and nobody knows what Washington is doing at pick 7. Nobody knows if we're trading back. And apparently, nobody knows what's coming when these uniforms get unveiled on April 15th. Be on the lookout for the Commanders YouTube channel. I hopped on the Get Loud podcast today with Michael Jenkins and Fred Smoot. So we did a little 10-minute draft, fan profile, free agency overview of the offseason. Shout out to their producer, Anna, who hit me up and invited me to come on the show. Talk soon. Love y'all. Hail to the Washington Commanders. We out.